You ever realize Kansas is just one county fair away from running out of deep fryers? That's funny.
I like, okay, if you live in an urban area in Kansas or someplace else, and you don't go to rural places very often, the inability to find healthy food in a rural place
is rough.
Like, we were in Greensburg the other day, and actually they did a fairly good job. Like, there was a couple things.
There was a salad bar.
Yeah.
It was a good salad bar.
But I was filming out west for Harvest over the summer, and I don't remember which community it was, but we went to this restaurant, my nephew and I, and like literally every single thing was deep fat fried. Like, everything on the menu. Like, there wasn't a leaf of lettuce to be found.
You don't need that rabbit food.
And I can do that for a meal, maybe two, but I'm talking about like a week of that. My body was revolting. Welcome to Ask a Kansan,
where we're amplifying, connecting, and uncovering Kansas.
And today, I feel like every episode is something a little different, but we've never done this before.
Yeah, so today we had an amazing opportunity to interview Joel Goldberg, and you may know him as the voice of the Royals. So if you are a sports fan, buckle up. We talk about it a little bit. If you are a business fan, buckle up. We talk about it a little bit. If you are just a general fan of Joel, buckle up. We talk about a lot about Joel, which is great. So we got a lot of different kind of, Joel's doing a lot of really cool things. So we talk about a little bit of everything. So
buckle up.
So without any further ado, here's Joel. Again, thank you for being on today.
It's good to be here.
So I've been listening. I listened to, I got through half of your first book.
Okay.
And I have been enjoying your podcast as well.
Thank you.
And one of the things that kind of resonated with me through your podcast and even your book is your ability to network and how you've kind of discovered that. You mentioned like you've been doing it your entire life without that intent. And so can you kind of give us, one, are there any helpful hints that you've learned along the way? But also, like, how has that helped you in your career in general?
Well, first off, I think the more people you know, no matter what you do and who you are, the better. Mm-hmm. You can't know everybody, but I think the magic happens when you build relationships and trust with people, and you don't have to know where it's going either, right? And that's true in any profession. I mean, name me a profession that doesn't involve people. Mm-hmm. So we're all networkers. I mean, we sit there and say, well, he's a good networker, she's a bad networker, she's, introverted, he's extroverted, and all that. And yes, I mean, that all plays into it. And some people are better networkers than others. I think I'm a good networker. I'm not a great connector. Some networkers are great connectors that can very, very deliberately say, you two need to get together. I'm not as good at that. But I find when you meet people, you network with people, you listen to people, there's a lot of energy and a lot of good that comes from that. You don't have to know what it is. And I'll also just say this, that I appreciate the sentiment for anyone that says, say yes to everyone. You just say yes. You never know where it's going to go. And I do agree with the sentiment of that, other than the fact that there are only so many hours in the day. So there does have to be some discernment with it. I don't think you have to know where it's going, but I think you need to trust your gut sometimes and say, is this something that is worth an hour spent going to get coffee? Mm-hmm. Is this something that can be done in a 5 or 10 minute phone conversation? And so, there's no secret or no perfect answer for it, but you just kind of navigate over time. And I think the one common theme, and I think this is true, coming out of the pandemic, that at least I see that when I'm at my best, especially in my speaking business, I'm connecting with people. And when business is flowing, I mean, you guys know this in your business too. When you are with people and you're face to face, it's just a better opportunity to build rapport and trust and to listen to what people might need before you know whether it is a fit or not. And I think the more you put yourself out there and do that, the more results you have. That's what I'm doing in baseball every single day. We just don't call it networking. You're going in there and you're schmoozing with people.
Amazing. I love that word.
It was going to be that or BS. Or BSing. I don't know.
So you moved to Kansas City in 2008, right?
Yeah.
And so you've been with the Royals since then,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
I'm trying to segue this, but it's not going to be a great segue.
I'll give it a try. I mean, it's all, that's where the magic is,
where
in
the
the
magic
segues
is.
and the transitions.
So there's people who get broadcasting and there's people who don't get it because they've never experienced it. I grew up in radio. So I grew up with a dad who hosted a morning talk show and a mom in sales. Like I got both sides.
Yeah.
And so I get it, but there's a lot of people who don't. So for the people who don't, can you kind of walk us through kind of how do you prepare for that day? How do you prepare for that game? How do you figure out, because it's live, you have to come up with this stuff off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Is there planning involved? Is it just, we're just going to see how things go today? Or like, what is your process through that?
Yes, and yes to all of it. There are some elements to this that are the secret sauce. Like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this. I can get into some of that. But some of it is, like, I don't like the term winging it, because winging it to me says that you're just going to make it up or you're going to be unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the right term is for being able to do something on the fly, but being prepared. Trusting yourself that trusting myself right now that I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm about to come up with it because I have a lifetime of experience doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like, so we could call that pulling it out of, wherever, or we could say like, I know how to do this. And like, you don't have to have all the answers or the secret formula for everything in advance. So it's I guess a way of me saying, and somebody asked me this earlier today, about a key to this or how do you do this? And it's like, I think the secret to any profession, and certainly for radio and TV, is repetition. So I always like to say it this way. When people ask me, and it's a fair and very normal question to ask, do you get nervous being on TV? I get asked that. It's not surprising that I get asked that. It just, if they're expecting an answer of yes, it's not. It's not a matter of how good are you or not. It's that I've done this a million times. Mm-hmm. So what I like to say to people is, do you get nervous going to work every day? We tend to make a bigger deal of jobs that we've never lived in before. Mm. And we think we know, I say we think because do we really, like, we think we know what the life of a doctor's like. We think we know what the life of a teacher's like. We think we know what the life of an accountant is like. We think we know what the life of sales is like because we know what those jobs are, even though we don't really know if we haven't walked in those shoes. But there's something mysterious about television or radio because for the most part, people don't know someone in that industry. Mm-hmm. They didn't grow up in that industry the way you did. I didn't grow up in that industry too. And I think I found my sweet spot and I found the nerves go away the more comfortable I got in the business, where it just became my everyday life. So I mention all of that because, yes, there's preparation every day. I would like to think if I'm having a bad day or if stuff's going on or something came up where I was unable to prepare for something I thought I was going to prepare for, I can do that like that because I can go back into my mental Rolodex and say, I know how to do this on a bad day. I know how to do this when I'm not at 100%. I'm not feeling well or something came up where I couldn't prepare as much as I had to. But the other piece to this, I think, and every day's different, is that there are, to me, a word that I've been using a lot lately that I like for a lot of things is non-negotiables. What in your day is not negotiable? Like, I have to do this. And there are parts of my preparation for every game that are non-negotiable. And then the rest of it sometimes falls into place as I'm going. There are plenty of days where I walk into a Royals clubhouse and I've got to come up with 2 to 4 in-game stories to report on, not to mention all the pregame stuff. The pregame stuff's easier. I've got a producer that puts that all together. My partner and I have some input on it. But my broadcast partner and I and our producer are like a 3-headed monster that we all think alike, and we just have such a good rhythm that I can have 100% say in the show or 0% say in the show, and I know where it's going, and we speak that kind of, that unspoken language. That's very comforting. That comes again from reps and experience of just knowing like we're good. Okay, so what do I need today to get done? And then, oh, by the way, I got to get those in-game reports done. And there are just some days where I'm like, I don't know that I have great storylines. But once I start to walk into the room and back to networking and talk to guys, inevitably something comes up. They're not saying, hey, Joel, I got a good story for you, but just in conversation and going back and forth, something triggers in my head or something pops up, and then suddenly I go down that path. So a lot of it is on the fly, and then a lot of it is, okay, here's what I know I need every single day to be prepared for it. And some of it's little busy work type of stuff that enable me to be ready when the game starts so that I'm not playing catch up. So I think more than anything, there's a rhythm to it, and it's different for every single person in my shoes. But having done this so long, 18 years with the Royals and 31 overall on TV, while I'll constantly tweak and look for better methods, I know with my eyes closed how to get ready for a game and do it on the best or worst of days.
I imagine that the average Royal fan thinks you have like the best job ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get paid to sit there and watch the Royals
They
play.
pay me to talk about a baseball game.
Yeah. I guess, so my question, do you consider yourself a fan? And do you have to, is that like a switch you have to turn off and on during a broadcast?
Yeah, I love that question. I don't get asked it enough, but I try to bring it up a lot because I think on a personal level, it's an interesting sort of development for my career, my life, and the way I go about things. Meaning this, I got into this business the way most people in my shoes, or why most people in my shoes got in this business. Because someone's going to pay me to talk about sports on TV, sign me up. Mm-hmm. I was dreaming of that when I was, I've got an opening line. And if anybody is watching and then sees me speak later, forgive me for giving away the opening line in a lot of my speeches. But I usually get on stage and say, do you remember a time when you were young as a kid where you were sure you knew what you were going to be when you grew up? And I think that evokes a lot of images of, I wanted to be a firefighter, I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a, Major League Baseball player, whatever, right? And then I'll say, most of us had those dreams, and most of us ended up somewhere different. But not me, because there was evidence of my first grade teacher calling home on a regular basis, complaining that 7-year-old Joel was interrupting class once again, giving updates on the previous night's baseball game. So I had this dream early on. I lay the groundwork for that, to get back to your question, that I've wanted to do this for as long as I can remember because I loved sports and I love to talk. I still love sports and I still love to talk. However, I would argue that I'm a terrible sports fan, at least in terms of the way people think of sports fans. And my wife will remind me all the time, and I take pride in this, but it's also not what everybody wants to hear, that I'm way too rational to be a sports fan. The beauty of sports is that it gives you the license to be irrational. And I try to remind myself when people get a little crazy on social media, or they're just like they're losing their minds over stuff, and it's like, it's just sports. But my wife reminds me, like, this is the escape for a lot of people. This is what takes you away from whatever might be going on in your life, whether it's the stress of work or something at home or someone that's sick or whatever it is. And if you're not a sports fan, then maybe it's theater or the arts, it's music, it's whatever. Like, we all have that thing. For me, music is more my escape now, and theater is my escape now, and the movies are my escape now, and getting out and hiking, and I like to play pickleball. Like, those are all of my escapes now. Sports are not my escape. Doesn't mean I don't watch them every single night. I'm so analytical, and it's not even like, I don't know at this point in my career, I've covered everything, but I don't know football and basketball the way I know baseball at this point, because I lived every day of my professional life in baseball the last 18 years. But I can't switch off the storytelling mode and the analytical mode, but I also can't switch off what I would call the I think the safety mechanism that protects my energy, which means that I don't allow myself to get too overly emotional about sports. And it's a lesson that I learned from one of my mentors, Paul Splittorff, the Royals all-time wins leader, who passed away in 2011, and one of my early broadcast partners when I came to Kansas City. And Split pulled me aside my first year in 2008. Now, keep in mind, I'd come from St. Louis where they were winning every year. Not an easy thing, by the way, for me to do, not to come to Kansas City. That was easy. That was my choice. To come from St. Louis to Kansas City, where everyone was sure that I was more interested in St. Louis because the Kansas City-St. Louis rivalry. I'm like, I didn't grow up there. I chose to come here. I love it here. And eventually, not too far after, would fall in love with Kansas City, never want to leave, on and on. But Split said, after a post-game show one night, he goes, you look like you're really getting upset over the losses. And there were a lot of losses. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I want these guys to win. It's my new team, and I like these guys. They're cool guys, and, you know, like, go Royals, whatever. And he's like, there are a lot of important people that are paid a lot of money to lose sleep over the losses, and you're not one of them. And the only thing I would add to that, thinking about it years later, I've actually never said this part of it, but I just sort of said it before, is it's not just the important people, it's the people that want to get taken away from whatever's going on in their life. They don't have to lose sleep over it, but they're going to, because it enables them to forget about something else. So I don't ever want to take that away from people. But I would say the only two negatives to my business are that it's changed the type of fan I am. I'm not even sure if that's a bad thing. It's a little bit of survival mechanism. It enables me to protect my energy every single day, win or lose, so that I am not going to let a losing streak or a bad game affect my performance or affect my mood. I might be just a little bit grumpier sometimes because winning's easier. It's more fun. Guys are happier to talk. But I've done it all. I know how to do it. The other just negative to the job is personal life, family. I'm lucky enough that I've been in the business for 31 years. I've been married to my wife for 26. We've been together for 29. Our kids are 20 and 22. They've never known another life than this. Doesn't mean we had it figured out early on, but we have a pretty good idea of how to do it now. This is our normal. So there was a lot of struggle and heartache and angst early on of, can we do a family and life and this business? And there are a lot of moments where not so sure, right? Like, where is this all going? And we figured it out. It's the way we do things. It's our normal. There is a rhythm and a routine to our lives as a family, in season, out of season, that's very comforting. Like, this is what we know. So I'm not the sports fan I ever was. I love sports as much as I ever did. I just love it in a less emotional way. And sometimes I'll try to enable myself to just let loose a little bit and experience that emotion and that heartache that fans experience, because it's part of sports. But I'm not built that way anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just different. Like, I feel privileged to have that perspective. I feel, and it is the most amazing job. And so I do want to say, like, I'm not saying all of that to take it for granted. I don't need to remind myself, don't take it for granted. I see little reminders every day, every stadium I show up at. I mean, I get to walk onto the field every day, and that's really a normal thing for me. And I don't ever want to lose the fact that there are millions of people that would love to trade places with me. And if I were them, I'd want to trade places with me too, because it's really cool. But there's also something about then, like, okay, let's chill, because this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you do, and this is your life. And if you're walking around wide-eyed and going crazy all the time, it's hard to stay focused. So just finding that balance on that.
When you moved to Kansas City in 2008, was the intent to always stay there?
No, I've been thinking about this lately, and I don't know why I've been thinking about it lately. I guess just when you're somewhere for so long, you start to reflect on this stuff. And I don't know that 18's the magical year. Or what. I know this. My whole career, which started with 2 years in a small town TV station in northern Wisconsin, and then 2 years back in Madison, Wisconsin, where I'd gone to school and I'd been an intern there, and then almost 10 years in St. Louis. I don't ever remember there being a time where I didn't have a thought, like every day, of where's the next stop. It's a tough way to live and to work, but you just have to go through it, meaning that if I could go back and tell my younger self, I'd be like, just go work and stop worrying so much about getting the perfect resume tape and having the perfect stand-up and having the perfect story and then hoping that somehow it gets you the next job. It's like everything you did it was less about working for the paycheck. Every place I was at, I loved. Of course, there are always more things you wanted or more airtime or more this or more there. But it was like, I'm in TV. Like this, I made it. And I just wanted to stay. And then I wanted to go to the next place. And I think there was always this dream of, I know, like I wanted to either get to Chicago, which is where my family had moved when I was 13, and they're still there to this day. And my parents have been in the same house now for the last 40 years. And so I wanted to get back to Chicago, or I wanted to get to Philadelphia, where I'd grown up originally because I would, loved the Philadelphia teams and I was still an emotional fan, or maybe ESPN and SportsCenter. Those are the goals. I don't know when it changed. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was year one, but somewhere along the way, I wish I could identify what year, if there was a moment, somewhere along the way, I'm like, I'm good. And that was the most liberating feeling because, and I really think it probably happened more like 2016, maybe 2015, 16. I think the Royals winning and experiencing what that did, being in a small market, the whole country watching what we were doing, seeing the way Kansas City, and not just Kansas City, right? I mean, people were going crazy here in Salina. I don't need to ask whether that was true or not. I know it's true.
It was.
Right? Like that's one of the cool things for me about coming to Salina. And I was speaking in Hutch a week and a half ago. I'll be in Wichita to speak next week. Is like I go to any of those places, and it's
my
still,
daughter watched you speak in Hutch.
Okay, so it's that's like it might as well be home too. It's the same crowd. Right, it's a different town. You're further away from home. You need to learn your way around, the town and the city. But I don't like it. Feels like home because they're Royals fans here. Not in a way of like you can get Royals fans anywhere around the world with, the internet and streaming and all that now. But like, if people are baseball fans here, there's a pretty good chance they're a Royals fan, and so that's really cool that we have that type of a fan base. But I knew in 14 and 15 like this is unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And I'd experienced some championships with other teams. I think it most reminded me of when I worked in St. Louis. The St. Louis Rams went from the worst team in their division to Super Bowl champions the next year, and it was like no one knew what to do with it because it just was so unexpected. Maybe by 15 we were starting to expect it, but it was still so new to be able to win like that. But I don't know up until that point if it was so much about I need to leave somewhere else, but it was like, okay, is there more I could be doing? Or like, do I have the job I love, or is there a next step or whatever it is? And somewhere around there, I was like, I haven't put together a resume tape for years. I wouldn't even know where to begin or how people do that anymore. And I don't really want to go anywhere. Like, I like it here. My wife likes it there. My kids like it. My wife had grown up in Kansas City and moved away when she was 11. Her sister had moved back and got married and kids. So like we were already going to Kansas City pretty much from 1996 through 08 for birthday parties and holidays and births and all that type of stuff. And the first time I ever came to Kansas City was 1996 when my niece was born. I left a post-game show this year and darted right from a post-game show 5 miles away to her wedding to watch her get married this summer. Like, that's how long I've been in Kansas City. But I'll just say that once you realize, I wish I knew the moment, but once you realize that you're where you want to be and you're not looking to go to the next place, it's such a liberating feeling because you can focus on honing your craft and continuing to meet people and just getting better at what you're doing without the pressure of you have to get it right or else you're not going to have that next job. It just freed me up to do that. And then the last piece to it is once I started my speaking business in 2016, beginning of 17, it gave me the chance to kind of scratch another itch and have growth opportunity without having to go somewhere else. So it all kind of came together to a point now where like I couldn't think of doing anything else and I don't want to do anything else. So I just get to enjoy the ride.
Kansas Wesleyan is proud to be the educational crossroads of North Central Kansas. As a partner of Ask a Kansan, we share the desire to build our communities and to discover what makes our region special. Learn more about the power of and at kwu.edu.
How has it been? I'm going to kind of switch over to Royals of you watch them grow. You got to be there for the utter madness that is Kansas City when they win. What is it like to see, because we had, the team, we had Hosmer, we had Salvi, who's still there. What was it like when members started to get traded or leave the team? because you built you build these relationships with these players. What's it like when they move away?
It's interesting. It's a great question, because as much as I want to play cool and I don't want to play cool, but everything I just said before about just protecting myself, it hardens you to all of it. And I remember like specific players along the way that were not even so much like big names, but just guys that I had good relationships with, that when they were gone, it was like, oh, what a gut punch. I'm not even talking about superstars. Like, I remember when they let Bruce Chen go, and Bruce was such a lovable guy, still is. And I was like, man, like just like that, he's gone. Mitch Meyer, who's worked in their front office now for years, was kind of like their fourth outfielder, and just had a great relationship with him. And then they cut him one day, and it's like, man, like I really like that guy. And then over time, the thing with like seeing Hosmer and all those guys go is we knew it was coming. So as emotional as it should have been for the fans, I was mentally prepared for that. Like, and then for me, it just became a matter of like, I can't wait till those guys come back, when Hosmer would come back, and to be able to interview him with another team. And the funny thing about it now is now they're all coming back for reunions, and they're coming back, and you know, Hosmer did a little bit on TV with us last year, and we're seeing guys want to get more involved because they get away from it. They miss the game. They miss the camaraderie. They miss, like, most of those guys made enough money that they don't ever need to do it ever again. So why do they do it? Because they miss the environment. You know, there's nothing like it. But I'll take, like, I think a good example would be Freddie Fermin this year. And Freddie, to me, is one of my favorite people. I don't never, you know, one day maybe I'll rank my favorites. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But like, my list of like favorites for the most part is not the superstars. And I'll push back on that a little bit to myself, because Salvi's one of my favorites. My three favorite guys of all time were superstars, at least in a Kansas City way: Alex Gordon, Salvador Perez, Eric Hosmer. But there's so many Freddie Fermins out there that just, that's the best part of the job, is meeting these guys that on a level that most people will never get to meet them. And the cool thing about Freddie is fans could feel like there's something about Freddie that fans could sense, that he was just that sort of underdog to root for. And so when he got traded, you know, that one hit me in the gut pretty quickly. And then I went into like that protection mode of, okay, it's the business. But I also, I did something that day. I did like a, I don't know, 3 or 4 minute video on all my social media channels, just kind of pouring out my, I wouldn't say pouring out my emotions, but just giving all my thoughts on it. And the feedback and the responses I got from that were so overwhelming that it took me from a place of being bummed out that he was gone. I understood the baseball side, that they got 2 pitchers for him, and like the timing of it was really good for the Royals. I also understood that it was a great opportunity for Freddie, which I think most fans understood. He gets to go be a starter on a playoff contending team. But when I saw the response of everybody, and what I sensed was that they were responding in such big numbers, and the views on the social media posts were astronomical, which I don't know how much that stuff matters, but when it comes from something that's not controversial and not negative, and it's just a feel-good thing, like, that gives me a lot of hope. And I'm an optimist. I'm a storyteller. I like to live in the positive, not the negative, which is hard to do in this, you know, world that we live in. I think people just felt like their love of him was validated by hearing from me that he was worthy of their love, that he was as good of a guy and as beloved in the clubhouse by the front office, by the players, by the coaches, by us broadcasters, as much as he was loved by them. And so that's how I look at so much of this now. That's like getting back to before, like that's what I get out of it, is that, yeah, I hate to see it when guys leave, but I feel so happy for the fans that they got to experience, you know, that, and that I got to do that. And now I could, you know, if I pick up the phone right now and text Freddie, I'd hear back from him as quickly as he got that message. And I'll once or twice a year at least now send him a message, you know, a congrats, or a, you know, hope you're doing well, or that type of thing. So it's just part of the business. and no one wants. It's not that they don't want to hear it. Everybody knows it. Nobody wants to feel that. Again, it's back to the emotions. You're supposed to be hurt. You're supposed to be emotional about it. And then ultimately, in the end, if the trade works out, they'll be happy. And if it doesn't, they won't. Right? All right. But that's just the business of it. Yeah. You end up getting, it's getting harder too because, I'm 30 years older than some of these players now. When Hosmer left, that was only half of that. And guys before him, they were around my age. And so it's not, I work really hard to try to connect with these players and relate to them as best as I can, understanding that they're really like my kids' age now and not me. So I think it's a little bit harder for me to build the level of relationships that I have with Hosmer and Moose and all those guys, only because there's just more distance in the age. No different than, 80-something-year-old Denny Matthews was closer with George Brett and those guys in his era that he's going to be closer than he is with Bobby Witt. But still all gets back to the relationships. And, I try to keep in touch with guys very briefly when they move elsewhere because you never know. You never know when they come back. I want them to come back not having never heard from me again because we might do a good interview together or there might be whatever it is. So that's all part of it.
One of the things I love about sports is that any moment can become miraculous.
Yes.
Any moment can just go from being just another Tuesday at the K to being something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. What is it about the game? What is it about the K that does that? And
I would say, of course, I love the K, but like that's true in any sports venue. That's true in, someone's kid's Saturday morning 7 a.m. soccer game, for a bunch of 6 or 7-year-olds. Like, you never know when that moment's going to happen at the highest level, the lowest level. That's the beauty of sports. I mean, one of my favorite questions that I get on an everyday basis that I have no answer to, but I just laugh at it, is people say, well, who's going to win tonight? I don't know. I have no idea. I'll say, the question used to be, are we going to win tonight? As I was walking into the stadium, some fans might be lingering around, and I understood that, saying I don't know wasn't really a good answer for them. So I would just say, I hope so. And then the questions would become, are you going to get wet tonight because the Saudi splash? And I'm like, I hope so because it means that we won. But sometimes I'll say, I don't know if we're going to win 14-0 or 1-0 or lose 14-0 or lose 1-0. I don't know if there's going to be a walk-off tonight, if this is going to be the best game of the year or the worst game of the year. And every time I think I got it figured out, I'm wrong. I learned that back in my second year in 2009 where it was like, well, we got Zach Greinke going every 5 days, so that's a win. Well, it doesn't guarantee anything. That to me is the beauty of baseball more than any other sport. I know in football they say on any given Sunday, but for the most part, you have a pretty good idea of who's going to win. Like, if the Chiefs are playing a really bad team, it's not like, well, maybe there's a chance they could lose. Now, depending on what year it is for the Chiefs, it could be more up in the air. But you have a general idea. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a blowout. Think we're going to win. Think we're going to lose. I think it's going to be close. There's no knowing whether baseball on any given night is going to be close or baseball is going to be a blowout or if you're going to win or lose. So I think that makes those moments more sweet because you don't know when to expect them. I mean, there was a game where the Royals came back a bunch of years ago against the White Sox where I think they were down 7 or 8 or 9 in the last inning. I mean, I'm sitting up on our set getting ready for a post-game show, and at one point my audio engineer says to me, you thinking you might need to get down to the field at some point for a winning interview? I'm like, it never crossed my mind, but yeah, I probably need to get going. So you really never know, and that's fun. It keeps you on your toes. Back to the earlier question too, about the preparation and how do you prepare for an interview that you don't know is going to happen yet? How do you prepare for an interview when you don't know who your guest is going to be?
That is my worst fear.
It's a scary thing.
It is
and then
terrifying.
It became, okay, let me jot some notes down. It doesn't really look good with me looking at my notepad. And so you're just constantly, and that's part of why you don't have time for all the emotion. You're constantly scenario after scenario after scenario from the first out of the game to the last out of the game. But the fun of it is I truly go to work every day having no idea what's going to happen. And so that makes those moments really cool. I mean, if you look at the World Series that just happened, and for all the talk, rightfully so, about how the Dodgers, the lack of equity in baseball, and how can they have a payroll of over $300 million, and the Royals have a payroll of $125 million, and it's not good for baseball, and that's a whole nother story that's not going to get solved anytime soon. But the Dodgers, even with all their superstars and Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and all these guys, They had 2 role players that basically won them the World Series in the last game. They had a veteran second baseman that didn't even start the first 5 games, and the manager decides on a hunch that we need his steadiness on defense in Game 6 and just his 36-year-old presence to kind of calm things down. They pulled out a young center fielder out of center field. They moved their second baseman to center field. They bring this guy in, Miguel Rojas. I think it's Miguel Rojas. Is that his name? See, already not a household name. He makes some good plays in Game 6. In Game 7, they start him again. There's 2 outs away from the Blue Jays winning the World Series. It's going to be their first World Series in 32 years, and this guy hits a home run to tie it. They then go back on defense for the bottom of the 9th, and the Blue Jays load the bases and hit a ball to him. He's off balance, and the only play he has is to go home. He throws the runner out at home, and he gets him out. Now there's 2 outs, bases loaded. And then the guy that got pulled out of the lineup, his name is Andy Pajes, young Cuban center fielder. He got pulled out. They install him after that home run in the 9th inning because his defense is good. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and the guy for the Blue Jays hits a ball that's going to go over the left fielder's head and win them the World Series. And trucking out of nowhere from far away in center field comes the defensive replacement who had lost his time because of the second baseman and crashes into the left fielder and throws his arm up in the air and catches the ball and preserves the tie, so they go to extra innings and the Dodgers win the World Series. Pajes probably makes like $1 million a year. I don't know what he makes, and the other guy makes like $5 million, which I know is a lot, but the other guys are making $20, $30, $40 million a year, and we're focused on payroll issues, which is a good focus to have, but yet it was the under-the-radar role player that won him the game, and no one could have ever predicted that. That, to me, and the unknown moments is what makes the game so great. And showing up every day having no idea what the storyline's going to be. I think I do sometimes. Sometimes I'm right, but I'm usually wrong. That's fun. I like that chaos.
Yeah. That's my worst nightmare. I'm a planner.
Yeah, there's a reason why if we were to do personality tests right now, why I'm the guy that needs a little more structure.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like just give me some guardrails because I need to be all over the place. So it works. It works for live TV.
This episode is sponsored by Renaissance Cafe. Serving Northern Italian cuisine prepared with a fresh, contemporary influence, the Renaissance Cafe is one of Kansas's favorite restaurants. Whether you're planning a romantic dinner date, a family celebration, or an intimate meal with friends, the Renaissance provides a unique dining experience with an old-world atmosphere. Open Thursday through Saturday evenings, the Renaissance Cafe is located just south of Salina in Assyria, Kansas. Visit renaissancecafeassyria.com to book your reservation today. I've heard that some broadcasters mentally envision, like sometimes it's their younger selves, sometimes it's a kid they met one time, but a specific listener or watcher at home. I'm just curious, do you have that as you broadcast?
Not really, but I think for me, I did kind of figure out early on, I speak the same way with my speaking, that you have to have a mindset that everyone watching or listening should be interested in what you're talking about. Or I'll flip it around. Everything that I say should apply to everyone. Like if I get too knee deep into some kind of niche, I'm going to lose people. So if I'm telling a story about like analytics and really kind of more like stat heavy baseball nerd stuff, I would say, I better make it palatable enough and tell the story well enough that the casual fan understands it. And the flip side of it, if it's on the more of the fluff side of things, and I don't mind that, because usually when you're doing more of a lighthearted story, it's going to have a human interest element to it that should, if told right, speaks to everyone. But I guess the fan that I'm keeping in mind is the casual fan that if they're not going to be that knee deep into it, I got to make sure that it's good for them too. So just trying to make sure, like, I don't know that I'd call it a lowest common denominator. There may not be such a thing, but like how or can there be layers to the story or the report that kind of help both people out? And so, and then like, you know, for me, I try to put myself in the shoes of those fans, Can I take them somewhere they don't usually get to go? Can I give them a little piece of information that they're not going to get elsewhere? And that comes from the relationships and the trust. Like a good example of that would be, my producers are great. Like 80 to 90% of the time, my game producer, I've got two, and I got my pregame producer, but my game producer, 80 to 90% of the time will just say to me, hey, what do you got for reports today? Maybe 10, 15, 20% of the time, if that, he'll say, hey, can you get me an update on this? I need this, I need this. And that's fine too. Usually when they want something specific, it's usually health or injury related. So it is really imperative to me to have a good relationship with the Royals trainer. And they've got like 3 or 4 trainers, and it might be different on other teams, but there's there's just an understanding that if you're trying to get information about anything medical, you go to the head trainer. And I get it. They don't want 3 or 4 different guys saying things a little bit differently. So that relationship with our head trainer to me is as important as any relationship I have on the team. And because I need him to trust me that one, I'm going to be accurate with the information that he gives me, and 2, that there's some information he might give me that I can't tell. And the more that I uphold those standards, the more he's going to tell me, and the more I understand that there's some things he can't tell me. I don't know whether it's a HIPAA violation or it's just like we got to protect some things that you shouldn't know yet. That's fine. Just let me know. Help me craft a story that not only informs fans, but enables me to tell it to them on a level that is not doctor or trainer talk. Meaning, if you can give me some good analogies or a better way to explain this versus just some fancy medical term. The only time I'll use a fancy medical term is when I think it's one I've never heard that is so hard to pronounce or so crazy that I want to do it for more the effect. Effect. Yeah. And then see if I can get the guys in the booth to repeat it. That's just playing around and having fun. But what I want to be able to do is come back. And so anything that I do medical, and it's not every night, but it's a lot of nights, there might be a medical report in there. I want to tell it in a way for someone like myself that has really no background or understanding of medicine and the medical side of things. And so that's kind of the way I look at all my stories, is if I could do it in a way that everybody understands it and is moved by it or learns from it, then that's the way to do it. So it's a very broad audience. We've got all different types.
Last question here. We are Ask Kansan. So to kind of bring this back to, do you think you've been able to travel with the Royals all over? You've experienced a lot of different fan bases. What makes the Kansas fan, either if you've experienced Chiefs, Royals, anything else, what makes the Kansas fan different than any other fan base?
I think one of the things that makes fans in this state different, and I would include the other side over in Missouri. I live in Kansas, but I'm right on the border. I mean, I pull out of our neighborhood and I can go shopping in Missouri across the street.
Discount gas and liquor.
Discount gas and liquor. I don't know a lot of other places that have such bitter rivalries with your neighbors based on the school you went to. And so I love the fact that we have, anywhere you go, Kansas City, Salina would be the same. Is that you may love your neighbor, but they've got a KU flag and you've got a K-State flag, and sometimes it happens in the same household, and you got to figure out a way to coexist, and then you can come together and be Royals fans or Chiefs fans together. That's really unique. I know there are probably some other places like that, but generally, if you go to St. Louis, where I'd worked before, everybody's a St. Louis fan, and for the most part, they're probably a Mizzou fan. Just it's not a 50-50 type of thing. You come to Kansas City and it's here's a Mizzou fan, here's a KU fan, here's a K-State fan. Oh, by the way, here's Iowa, let's throw them into the mix. And there's Iowa State, let's throw them into the mix. And there's Nebraska, and let's throw them into the mix. And we're not getting to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State yet. So there's I think that makes it really unique. And then they all kind of come together for the most part to root for the Chiefs and root for the Royals. That's different. As far as the rest of it, I mean, yeah, of course we have the greatest fans, right? But every other city's going to say they have the greatest fans, and they should. You should be proud of your town or your region and your team. I don't think our fans are any less or more irrational than anybody else's fans. I think there are some cities that are a little crazier, some cities that are more mellow. I think the last thing I would say about it is there's something about this part of the country and this region where I think that authenticity matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter on the coasts or in the bigger cities, but they don't always have time for it. It's such a more transactional, like when you talk about seeing some of these guys leave, that's why it hurts so much, because we're such a loyal, authentic part of the country and the region. And so that there's a unique element to that as well. But mixed in there is like this whole love thy neighbor, but you've got a KU flag, you've got a K-State flag. And that was one of the first things I noticed when I moved
Your curb is painted
here.
with a wildcat, where your neighbor's is with a Jayhawk.
You go on to sports media in other towns and everybody's grumpy or upset, grumpy or happy altogether. And here it's like, you're grumpy, but I'm loving this. I think that's kind of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me. It's great to be in Salina. I don't think they're trying to employ me at the Chamber of Commerce, but every time I leave this city, I go back and telling everybody there's some really, really cool stuff here. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks. Want to spread your organization's message across Kansas? Consider becoming a sponsor. Ask a Kansan has a unique focus on Kansas and its people. By sponsoring our podcast, your organization can reach people from Canarado to Kansas City, Wichita to Washington, and all the great places in between. We have a variety of sponsorship packages available to fit your budget and needs. For more information, visit askakansan.com/sponsorships or call us at 785-571-9507.
Well, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that interview with Joel. I thought it was a really great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit after, is Joel gets so deep with his answers.
Yeah, it's true.
And there's multiple times where like I was so wrapped up in like listening to him. I was like, oh no, what's the next question?
Yep. I'm familiar with that panic as well.
He gives such rounded, this is such a school answer. He gives such rounded answers to our questions. And to be honest, when I was prepping for this interview, I was like, what do I ask someone who literally does this for a living? And two, has done multiple interviews, has so much experience, like has probably been asked
I think he had an interview today.
Like, yeah, like has been asked everything under the sun. So hopefully I think it turned out really well. But like he's just one of those people that one with his like deep like broadcasting voice.
This room has never, like, it reverberated with him. You can't probably pick that up at home, but like, we've heard a lot of radio voices. This was like a whole nother level. Yeah.
So I just kind of got caught up with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, what we did forget is to shout out both of his books. We'll link all of his stuff in the show notes. There's so many that I can't even think about it. He does have his own podcast. He's just released his second book. I am halfway through his first one, which is really, really good. He's a really good storyteller, and his speaking. If you want him as a speaker, I mentioned, my daughter just saw him in Hutch, and it was so funny because I was checking her TikTok and she goes, just listen to Joel Goldberg, voice of the Royals. And so like later I was like, I'm interviewing him next week, right? She's like, oh, really? Like it wasn't a big deal to her.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so it wasn't a cool mom moment?
No, not
I'm so
at
sorry.
all. She was like, oh, okay.
One of the things I picked up on that I liked was you always hear these broadcasters talking about who they were talking to in the clubhouse. And I always kind of wonder, like, okay, is that real or is this just, mostly made up? And
it's real.
Like the chatting with the athletic trainer, like that was not something I thought about. So yeah, it's okay. I have to tell two brief Royals related stories. So the first is why I think baseball is a superior sport. It's because like there's an old stand-up comedian, I can't remember which one, but he's comparing football and baseball. Okay. And he's like, in baseball, your goal is to go home. In football, you're trying to go to the end zone. and he's like a dozen of those things. I love going to a baseball game because there's organ music.
There's hot dogs.
Exactly.
There's peanuts.
It's going to take 9 innings. You might as well sit back. You might as well relax. Just have a good time. Like, it's not a high pressure thing. You go to a Chiefs game and there's like miles away the. Can you tell I'm a homebody?
So this is totally not related, but it's the only baseball story that I have right now. Last time we went to a Royals game, it was my husband and I, and there was a guy sitting in front of us, and I got us like really good tickets. We were celebrating something. I don't remember what it was, but there's a dude in front of us, hat on backwards, sunglasses on his hat, but he was doing this the entire game. He had his hand over his eyes, shielding his eyes from the sun.
Classic. I would totally do something.
And it took everything in my power not to just pick his hat off his head and turn it around.
Well, I'm glad you didn't do that.
My husband would have been mortified.
I want to wrap up the baseball thing with just saying like how much I see the Royals doing to try to engage like a Kansas audience. I think it's really impressive. I remember being in elementary school here in Salina, and the Royals, like, I could be wrong. I may be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure I remember correctly that the general manager came, the 5 or 6 players, the mascot came, and they came to our, to Metal Arc Ridge Elementary, and they like presented to us as kids what baseball was. And I just think that's really cool that they were willing, and I have no idea if they can still do that. Like, that may be a thing of the past, but that's how you build a listener base. That's how you, like, I still remember that. I still think about that, and it still energizes me. Okay. Are you ready to, for a little segment? It's time for Ask a Kansan Sports Trivia. So I have a series of trivia questions relating to sports. And
I'm so bad at this.
Most of these are 2 truths and a lie. So you stand a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right. Okay. So you've probably heard that James Naismith's original rules of basketball live at KU after they were purchased for the institution in 2010 for $4.3 million.
Which is wild to me.
Right. It's like a piece of paper, I think. So I'm going to give you 2 truths and a lie, and you have to guess which one of these original rules of basketball I made up. Okay. So number 1, no dribbling. You couldn't run with the ball. You had to pass to get it down the court. Number 2, each team had to have 5 players on the court at a time. And number 3, no backboard, just the baskets.
2 truths and a lie?
2 truths and a lie.
The lie is sorry. The lie is no dribbling passing game.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? No, the lie is that you had to have 5 players. It wasn't until I think 1930 that they established that 5 players was the number of players on the court.
Really?
Which is just mind blowing. Can you imagine like 8 people playing against 8 people in basketball? It'd just be so strange.
Huh.
Sorry, I've kind of engineered this.
No, so I was basing that off of because the only like basketball history I know is McPherson, and McPherson is home to the Globe Refiners. They were the first USA basketball team to go to the Olympics, and I was thinking, I was like, I remember somewhere along the way, like it had to be a passing game because it was a clay court and it was raining in Germany. Anyway, in the 30s, and it was like all this, and so that's what I was basing my answer off of.
Okay, question number 2. You may have heard of Jim Ryan, a famous athlete and politician from Kansas. What is Jim Ryan known for? So 2 truths and a lie.
Jim Ryan.
Here we go.
The most generic name.
He was the first American high school athlete to break the 4-minute mile. Number 2, he was the last American to hold the record for running a mile. Or number 3, he won gold at the 1968 Summer Olympics.
Can you read me number 2?
The last American to hold the record for running a mile.
Hold the record for running a mile? I'm going to say that's the lie.
That is the truth. The lie was that he actually won silver at the 1968 Summer Olympics. Yeah, I agree with you. So what this is about is like, do you know how like many of the world's best runners now are from like Nigeria?
Yeah.
And like he was the last American to be good enough to set a new record in running the mile, which is wild.
Okay.
Okay, number 3. You've heard of the Sunflower Showdown. Oh my
Showdown?
goodness. It's Friday, guys. You've heard of the Sunflower Showdown. Of course, we pay a lot of attention to football and basketball. But there is an overall record for all sports between KU and K-State. So I'm going to give you 2 truths and a lie. So here they are. Number 1, Kansas leads 635 to 509 with 9 ties. Number 2, Kansas leads 620 to 514 with 9. Or number 3, K-State leads 599 to 539 with 9 ties.
And this is overarching,
Yep.
just between them 2.
Yep.
I don't know.
I'm going to give you...
Give me the numbers one more time.
Okay. KU's ahead 635 to 509.
Okay.
KU's ahead 620 to 514. Or number 3, K-State leads 599 to 539. And there's a quirk here, which I can point out as a hint if you'd like.
Sure. There's some ties in there.
This is 2 truths and a lie. So
One
of those is a lie. How is that possible? I think I broke Sydney.
Yeah, you broke me. I don't know. The one where the last one is the lie.
Okay, you got it. So
Oh my
K-State.
gosh.
So well done. K-State does not lead. K-State. That's one thing we can all agree on. The issue here is that they disagree about what the record is.
Oh.
And so KU believes it's 635 to 509, while K-State believes it's 620 to 514. Depends how you count.
And what sports are we counting? Like, are we counting bowling?
We're counting
tennis?
all.
Are we
to be honest
counting
with you,
roping?
I don't know that detail, but I think a lot of we're talking about. Honestly, if it's truly everything, I bet it would be even higher than that. So I don't really know.
Yeah, it
'Cause, like,
must be the
baseball plays a
major
lot.
ones, like baseball, football, basketball.
Baseball, football, basketball, Tanner thinks. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I want to know what the rodeo record is, because both of them have rodeo teams, don't they?
I don't know if KU does. K-State definitely does. Or as far as I know, they do. Okay, question number 4. There have been some important firsts in sports that took place in Kansas. Number 1, the first national championship drag race. Number 2, the first night game in organized baseball. Or number 3, the first round of disc golf.
I'm gonna go night game at baseball.
As the lie.
I'm gonna say that's the truth.
Okay.
The other ones were drag racing and disc golf.
Correct.
Should know the drag one, but disc golf is pretty hippie. I would think that is like Oregon, Washington. So I'm gonna go disc golf is the lie.
Your rationale is perfectly wrong, but you're totally right. It was not disc golf. That was actually in Texas. That's why I say you're totally wrong with your rationale. I was really surprised. The first night game in organized baseball was in Independence, Kansas in 1930. I thought that was weird.
And the first lights.
Okay, congratulations. You made it to our last question, and we're going to invert the formula on this one. Okay. So instead of 2 truths and a lie, we're going to do 2 lies and a truth.
Okay.
So the namesake of Allen Fieldhouse at KU is former KU basketball coach Fog Allen. You've probably heard of the phrase "beware the fog," but do you know where Fog Allen got his fog? So, in other words, like, why is he named Fog Allen? That's the question. So, number 1, it was a nickname he got from his baseball umpiring days from his unique vocal inflection. Number 2, his pregnant mother came to the U.S. from Germany on a ship that was lost for a time in a dense fog that obscured the Atlantic called the Dark Fog of 1885. After arriving in the U.S., she thought the name fit her newborn child. And number 3, his uncle was a famous meteorologist who gave the name to a young athlete as a nickname for his favorite nephew.
I'm going to go with my original thought before you gave me those ridiculous answers where his voice was like a foghorn leghorn type of deal of like
Yeah.
his voice.
You nailed it to the wall. That's it.
Yeah, that was my initial. So it's got to be the umpire
Yeah,
one.
his actual
Because
name.
one,
Yeah.
what was the day his mom came over and got lost?
1885, the year he was born.
1885? Not. Okay, maybe I don't know.
Fog Allen is like old time coach, not like recent.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I knew that, but like,
Yeah,
I didn't realize
and
it was that
I
long
just couldn't
ago.
help myself, to be honest. I had to be a little silly in the last one. So his real name is Forrest Clare Allen, and yeah, he picked it up because of his voice. So there was some useless sports facts from a not sports person. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you would be so kind, please like, comment, subscribe.
And leave us a review on wherever you're listening.
Hope you have a good one, and thanks for listening.
Bye.